News Radio 700 WLW.
And Rock, the continuing battle of man v. AI. We're in the early stages of this.
But I think AI is winning, Ed.
Oh, for sure. AI is up by 2 touchdowns.
Right. Getting ready to stretch the lead to 3 scores, yes.
And what's happening here, what we're talking about is it's knowledge scraping is what they're calling it, basically, harvesting all the information that's out there. And, of course, that would entail artistic stuff like music.
Like music, where you an artist writes a song. Well, AI can now generate a song that sounds pretty much like whatever artist you want, same themes, same style, this and that, and it can become a hit song without really being, an actual songwriter or artist.
Well, here to discuss and how all this stuff works out through patent law and copyrights and such is our good friend John Rizvi. He is the patent professor. John, always a pleasure. Welcome back to the show.
Yeah, the pleasure is mine. Thank you.
So, John, you heard us talking there. This scraping. Describe what's happening here, because we're talking 21 million. Is it artist songs? What are we looking at here?
21 million songs and tracks, and I think you nailed it. They're coming up with all kinds of terminology for what they're doing to this music, except using the word copying. So they'll say, I've heard scraping, I've heard training, that they're training on the music. They don't want to say copying because they're trying to avoid copyright infringement. And their defense is that these robots are learning from the music,
right,
similar to how a human would learn. The difference is humans cannot learn, 10,000 tracks of music in 2 minutes. So that's the difference. It's at a scale that simply has never been possible in the past. And a lot of artists are upset about this, and I think rightfully so.
Now, are these just like individual people doing this, or are these like large-scale companies that are doing this quote-unquote scraping?
Oh, no, these are large tech companies, and there's a major lawsuit brought by like Universal, Sony, Warner against Suno, and that's one of the companies that's actually training on this work. And the Atlantic did an investigation, and that's where they uncovered that these 21 million tracks were actually used for training. And that eliminates the defense of, the biggest concern is it's like these aren't public, it's not public knowledge as to what this database trains on. So a defense that everyone's worried about, plaintiffs are worried about, is that, hey, our music might sound similar, but we didn't train on your work. Now, that defense is gone now because there's evidence that they did train on at least these 21 million songs, and some by, major artists like Taylor Swift, Bad Bunny, Billie Eilish, Nirvana. These are major artists
right,
whose work has been used to train this database.
Now, in a way, John, this is not similar, dissimilar from, we've had you on before talking about, is a song copied or is it inspired by, right? Like the Spirit song that, sounds a lot like Stairway to Heaven, and Robert Plant saying, well, I may have heard it kind of thing, but, it's really our song. So what is the line here when we're talking about a song, in this case, going up against AI? Like what's the delineation between, that's kind of inspired me to write this song, or the song is like this versus it actually is?
Yeah, well, the good news is that the courts are not even going to have to get to this, because the issue is not about the songs that are created as much as it is about the songs that the bots are learning from. So the question is the learning from fair use, and is that permissible, or would it be considered copyright infringement? And the closest, one close case, and I've been on your show before talking about the Anthropic lawsuit, which was the single biggest copyright infringement settlement of all time, $1.5 billion. And Anthropic was an AI company that trained its chatbot on millions of books. So this could almost be seen as the same fight, except this time we're not talking about books and written materials, but we're talking about music. So it's basically taking that fight with books, and now it's going to be based on music. So there's a lot of similarities, and I think the plaintiffs are in a really strong position in this case.
And John, is it? I mean, are you going to have to, as an artist, in this case, musicians, are you going to have to fight for like the essence of your work? How do you copyright something like that, like Taylor Swift, for instance? Well, that song sounds like a lot like something I would write. But by the same token, okay, I happen to be a giant Taylor Swift song. I want to write a song that's
Right.
like some she would write. How are we going to delineate all that stuff?
Yeah, and that brings us back to that line that you spoke about, is inspiration versus copying. And I think the plaintiffs are smart by not really going after the end product and saying, hey, listen, we think the use of the music for the initial use that your bots are utilizing it for, whether you call it scraping or whether you call it training, we consider it copyright infringement. You're using our work with zero compensation, no permission, and you're using it at a scale that's never been done before. And we believe that you should have to pay licensing fees. Now, does that mean that these type of companies are going to go away completely? I don't think so, but they may just have to go to a licensing model, and that will at least provide a way for artists to be compensated for when their works are used for, training, scraping, whatever you call it. It's copyright infringement.
Now, John, what about voices of singers? Like, so AI could also, from my understanding, can generate a piece of music, and the voice, it's not dead on Taylor Swift, but it kind of is pretty close.
Close
Like
enough.
how, I mean, that seems like a pretty hard thing to define. Like, are there any sort of copyright or infringement laws that protect a similar voice kind of situation to this AI generated song?
And that's a problem. There isn't. So artists are resorting to new ways of trying to protect their voice. They're filing trademarks for their voice because you can't. It's really a tough. There's only so many tones and variations on human voice, so it's hard. But if they file trademark applications, at least specific terms, specific words in that voice can be protected. And Matthew McConaughey, for example, with his trademark application for "all right, all right, all right" in his signature style, he's filed a copyright or trademark application for that. So the artists are fighting back, doing the best they can, but there is a need for legislation that takes this new technology into account. I mean, the current copyright statute is based on a constitutional basis, but that was developed at a time where you didn't have the ability to learn 21 million songs automatically. Yes, there's human learning. But machine learning is a completely different animal, and the law needs to evolve and take that into account.
And I'm assuming, John, and we're talking to John Rizvi, in a situation like this, because you think of music sampling, but
Right.
the difference there would be you have to pay for that right. Is that? I mean, that's pretty much correct.
100%. Those
Yeah.
are typically licensed, and you have to pay. Here you have these artists, their work is being used many times to build a product that competes with them, and the tech companies are not only not getting permission, but there's zero payment as well. So that just seems to really be completely different from any type of possible copyright infringement in the past. That humans don't copy millions of songs instantly. They've never had the ability
Right.
to do that. But AI can absorb basically entire musical catalogs and that's completely different from human creativity.
Well, that's what Rocky and I have talked about. You could, write me a song in that Lennon and McCartney might write with Taylor Swift. You know, I'm assuming that could be done and quite easily.
Yeah. 100%. And you see these variations; they're out there, and there's zero compensation for the original artist, and
right.
And no permission provided either, which of course I would imagine permission would be denied.
And John, this isn't a patent-related question, but maybe you have some knowledge of it. As we're seeing and hearing more of these completely AI-generated songs, the big question is, are people going to listen to them? Are people going to appreciate them? Or do they think that piece of music has any soul to it if a human didn't write it and sing it? Are you seeing any information about, I guess, the public's appetite for AI-generated either film or music?
So the question is going to become, how difficult as these models get better and better and more realistic and human-like. It's whether people are even going to be able to tell. So it's now gotten so realistic that they can have AI clones of celebrities, and their fans are not able to tell whether it's the actual celebrity that they follow and love, or whether it's a robot. So I think that's the problem. If the fans cannot tell, then there is some value to this this music, and it's taking away, there's the market from the human artists, and the human creativity is having to compete against a robot that's basically has got capabilities like a million times what a human artist would have.
Is there any push, John, that you know of where a producer of a song has to disclose if that song is in fact AI generated?
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like that would be, like, to your point, if you don't know and you don't have to tell anybody, then it's like, well, your guess is as good as mine. But I feel like if there was definitive proof or a disclosure of, hey, this is an AI generated song, just so if artists found a way to make that a guarantee, I think that would help. But I don't know if that's going to be in the conversation.
I think it's just around the corner. I mean, we've already seen that in other areas. We've seen it with books, right? So if on Amazon, if you have authors that have AI-produced works, they're required to disclose that. When you file for a copyright application, if you use AI, you need to disclose that in your application. So there's going to be more and more of a burden because it's so hard to determine on the back end whether AI has been utilized. I think what we're going to see more of is putting a burden on the company producing the work to say, hey, if you use AI, whether it's detectable or not, the consumers have a right to know. So you have to disclose that, and the free market's going to tell whether actual purchasers are going to give value to real artist-produced work versus something that's done by a machine.
All right. With that, John, it is always great to have you. People want to find out more. Where can they go?
Yeah. So our handle is on all social media is The Patent Professor. Again, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. Go to The Patent Professor. Our website is thepatentprofessor.com.
All right, John Rizvi.
Thanks, John.
We appreciate it.
Thank you. Always a pleasure.